بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. وألف بين قلوبهم وأصل ذات بينهم وسدد رميهم وسدد خطاهم وسدد راعيهم. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا رب العالمين يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Okay, so we're still looking at these few lines for the last couple of days. Let's continue this. So Allama Iqbal, Zeno held that movement is only a deceptive appearance, and what I tried to emphasize in last few sessions is appearance is not necessarily not all appearances are necessarily deceptive, irrespective of whether Zeno held that position or not. And then he goes on to say that, and that reality is one immutable. As you can see, we are more interested in Iqbal than Zeno. Obviously, if you want to understand Zeno, we'll go to his writings. Don't need to read Iqbal for Zeno. So it seems that I think I didn't. And then he goes on to say the unreality of movement means the unreality of metaphysical space. So it seems like, and I want to emphasize seems here, underline seems. It seems like so far, I want to underline so far as well, that Allama Iqbal at least implicitly is equating appearance with deceptive appearance, and then reality, and his contrast is reality versus unreality. And that's one of the contrasts. But there's also a contrast between appearance in philosophy, appearance and reality. So in a way, juxtaposing these first appearance is a deceptive appearance, and then he talks about reality, and then he contrasts it with unreality, which gives an impression that his contrast is between appearance and reality, and here he is equating appearance with unreality. So philosophers in philosophy, or generally as well, we can contrast reality with a lot of things. In fact, one of the contrasts is between appearance and reality. But here, appearance is not necessarily equal to unreality. And reality, unreality contrast is a different one. And there's another contrast, and that is between reality and ideality. So, for example, for Kant, space and time is ideal, but that doesn't mean that it is not real in the. It is not real in that sense, but it doesn't mean that it is unreal. That's not the contrast there. So we can use the appearance sometime as equal to unreality, but the real contrast is between appearance and reality and unreality. And appearance doesn't necessarily mean unreality. When I see a tree, it is an appearance, but that appearance is not a deceptive appearance unless I think that whatever I am seeing is exhaustive of the reality of the tree. Yeah, so that's the point which I want to make here. Okay, let's go back to the text. So reality, we yesterday or earlier today or yesterday, we talked about different linguistic meanings of reality. And then today I mentioned various contrasts between appearance and reality and unreality, reality and ideality. So it behoves that we say a bit more about the philosophical understanding of, or some sort of philosophical definition of what reality is as a concept, not the actual reality. So I'm going to think aloud about the concept of reality. But if you want to, one of the things I'm reading is this old article, I think it's What is Reality, by someone called David G. Ritchie. And this was published in May 1892, Volume 1, Number 3 of Philosophical Review. The top tier. I don't know what it's rating right now, but when I was in the business, this was one of the top tier philosophy journals. But that's a very old article. And sometimes I just go back and read old articles because they're much more thoughtful, I would say. Anyway, that wasn't the point. If you want to read a bit more about this in a fruitful way, that's one of the readings. It is actually available to download free of charge at the moment. So I'll put the link to it. Okay, so let's go back to what reality is. What are some of the definitions of reality? um, in um, in philosophy. So let's look at some of the first definition, which this is from Wikipedia. It says in philosophy, reality is the totality of all that exists. And if I stop, I exist in the universe. So if I stop here and don't read the rest of the definition, so this one says in philosophy, as if that's the only position in philosophy, but this is one of the positions in philosophy. Reality is the totality of all that exists. Now, this is not a very because then you, in a sense, it's not a. I mean, as a indication, it's good. It's fine definition, but the precise definition, which are almost very difficult to come up with, it's not that good because it's defining reality or explaining reality or describing reality in obviously inverted commas because it's talking about concept of reality. But it's using exists, which is even more difficult word because tree exists here, but two numbers exist, for example. So this is a huge debate in philosophy. So I'm just trying to give you a sense of all that, not to give you any precise definition. So reality is all that. So if we stop at that, then reality would include number because they exist in some sense, trees, and reality would include appearance as well as tree as it actually exists independent of my perception of it. My thoughts are also reality because they're real in the sense that in some sense, they exist. I think, but they are not necessarily real in the sense that they exist independent of my thinking, for example. Okay, so these are all sort of questions which arise when you talk about reality. Now, this I stopped there, but this and that's why I picked it up randomly. But this definition goes on; it doesn't stop, and which basically belies or contradicts what I said. That so reality is the totality of all that exists in the universe. It is the state of things as they are. So it is the state. Now let again stop here. State of the things as they are. And understood. So as they are. So let's say things in themselves. What can't things in? So reality, he is restricting reality to things in themselves. So tree as I see it is not real in that sense. But that doesn't mean that tree is unreal. We would say tree is ideal, for example, in Kantian terms. For example. So if you think so in here reality is contrasted with not unreality but ideal. And if we had stopped here, then hardly anything is unreal, really. Everything is real, which exists in one way or may exist. Okay. But if we move on to the second part of this definition, then it restricts reality to things in themselves, things as they are in themselves. And it's going to restrict even more when I go on to the next sentence. But if we stop here, then even my thought might be still, real, but they would be real as they are in themselves, not as I experience them at a meta level, for example. That's how you do philosophy. This is called philosophizing. Pick up thing and sort of in a consistent way, just make up things from that, in the hope that it will um, clear things or create new problems or do something like that. Yeah, or you will be able, will help you to understand the distinctions which you didn't, which you weren't aware of when you start thinking about those things. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next. So far it has said that reality is the totality of all that exists in the universe. It is the state of the things as they are rather than, okay, as they are. I had to stop. Rather than how one might wish them to be. How one might wish them to be. So, in that sense, if we put this bit, then a lot of appearance would become part of reality again, because even though they are not thing as they are, but in a certain way they are thing as they are, but not exhaustive of thing as they are. Um, Rather than one out, but I mean, the appearance of tree, I can't just make it up, So there is a real element in that which will resist that. So if we include this, then maybe appearances will, or at least some of appearance would also come back into reality, which were excluded by this second inclusion, for example. Okay, and this goes on. Let us finish it. Then it goes on to say, reality includes everything that has existed, exist or will exist, whether or not it is observable or comprehensible. So existence as such, past, present, future, is all part of reality, whether we can observe it or not. So in that sense, there is observable reality, non-observable reality, and there is a reality which we haven't observed so far, but in principle is observable, but they're part of reality which will always be beyond our reach. So that's one definition of reality. And if we stop at different points in that, um, so it seems that reality is equal to existence of all sorts. Then reality is thing in itself, but then appearance become part of it at some point. And the last one, relating to everything that it's equal to existence again, but existence is something exists, present, past, and future, which can be observable or unobservable. So that will bring in a lot of more things. Okay, so that's just one one definition of reality. Okay, let's. I think that's enough. I just wanted to give an indication that reality is much more complex concept than Allama Iqbal seemed to be making it out to be here, and saying that reality is not saying, but contrasting reality, at least implicitly, with unreality, gives an impression that reality That's the only contrast. And then it gives an impression that reality is actually opposed to appearance, but it's not necessary. So appearances are real in a way as well. So appearances and reality are not contradictory concepts. We can say that appearance doesn't exhaust reality, but that doesn't mean that appearances are not real necessarily. Similarly, when we say appearance, when we say reality, we might be contrasting it with ideality, but ideality doesn't mean that those things are not real in a larger context, in a broader sense of the real. Okay, that's all I wanted to actually point out. My point two. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back to the text. So I think let's read it and probably that was enough for today, and then we can move to his actual point that unreality movement means the unreality of an independent space. So we will specifically deal with the space again. But so far he's saying Zeno held that the movement is only a deceptive appearance, and we said that it might be appearance or deceptive appearance, but deceptive appearance is not equal to appearance as such, and that reality is one and immutable, and the unreality, and there we looked at first the linguistic meaning of reality, and then some of the philosophical senses of reality. And what we learned was that reality is not necessarily not necessarily a contradictory concepts to appearance. Appearance can be part of reality, and the contrast of reality is not only with the unreality, but it's also with appearance and ideality, in which case appearance and ideality are not necessarily unreal. Okay, so let's stop here. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin وآل محمد وأصحاب محمد وأزواج محمد وإخوان محمد وأعوان محمد وذرية محمد وأهل محمد وأولاد محمد إلى يوم الدين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وأبلغه الوسيلة والدرجة الرفيعة من الجنة. اللهم اجعل في المصطفين محبته وفي المقربين مودته وفي الأعلين ذكره. والسلام عليه ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على روح سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في الأرواح، وصل على جسد سيدنا محمد في الأجساد، وصل على قبر سيدنا ومولانا محمد في القبور، وعلى آله وصحبه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد كلما ذكره الذاكرون، وصل على سيدنا محمد كلما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد صلاة تكون لك رضا ولحقه أداء، وآته الوسيلة والمقام المحمود الذي وعدته، وإجزه عنا أفضل ما جزيت نبيا عن أمته. وصل على جميع إخوانه من النبيين والصالحين والصديقين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.